I'm one of the few people I know who doesn't like the original Matrix movie.
Hmm.
I just hate it.
The color
I love
grading in
Keanu
it is
Reeves.
horrible, but yeah.
Well, that's a deliberate choice, which hasn't aged well. But I love Keanu Reeves. I love his work. I think he's a wonderful man. I think he's a very talented actor, especially when he's in Bill and Ted. Also, surprisingly, in John Wick, which I was not expecting. That's a very silly but very enjoyable series of movies. But there's something about the Matrix that just rubs me the wrong way.
There's a new game coming out of Matrix soon, isn't there? Or is that just a
no,
tech demo for Unreal?
Came out.
I don't know.
Did you? I'm trying to think games. Oh, I know a game that you should have liked, and everyone you know likes, and you tried it. Like, no.
Ark.
Uh-huh.
I still don't know why I don't like it. I've tried my best to work out why.
It's like me with Witcher.
Yeah, everything's there. A survival game where you're building stuff. Yeah, that's my jam. Dinosaurs are pretty cool. Yeah, but there's something about it that just doesn't work for me. I enjoyed Atlas far more than I did Ark, but I didn't like the fact that it wasn't really a single player game.
See, Ark is interesting because the control system in that is very solid, and you don't notice it. Like, it just works.
Yeah.
There are some odd dinosaurs that move in weird ways you have to get used to. That reminds me, the worst culprit for this, GTA.
Yes. Control systems in GTA feel like they've been put together by different departments.
Which one? Because...
Well, I remember the first time I got into a helicopter, I was like, oh, this is an interesting system, because it is actually one of the games that I will pick up a controller for, but it's hilarious. So when it was must have been about 18 months ago now, the last time Jan and I played at GTA 5, I was using the controller, and then we went out to go do something, so I put the controller down and started using mouse and keyboard. Yep. I got into the helicopter, and Jan's like, take off, take off, take off. And I'm like, I'm just waiting for my controller to start.
That was fun. That was almost as fun as the time when, take off, take off. I think I've lost connection to the server. No! The snapping system in Ark, so Ark's construction system is snap-based.
Yeah.
And if you're not using the Structures Plus mod, the snapping system is painful. It's genuinely painful, because you'll be aiming at exactly the right thing. The green outline will show you where you're going, and you'll press it, and in the act of pressing it, you've moved. So that's annoying.
I don't want a door at that angle. Yeah, Valheim, I've definitely built great structures in Valheim compared to what I could manage in Ark.
I just can't get excited about Valheim. Every time I look at it, it's just like, it feels like I haven't cleaned my glasses.
Maybe you haven't.
It just feels fuzzy.
It has a very bloomy aesthetic. It's very smooth.
Right. It's a visual choice. Yeah. There's plenty of games, though, where they clearly have done a lot of work. What's the action MMO set in space where everybody's space ninjas wearing kinky scuba suits?
Answers in the chat, because I can't say anything.
Totally. Swimming in GTA. Swimming in GTA is bad. Swimming onto a boat and then trying to get into the boat is bad.
And then jumping off again.
Because the key for get in boat is the same for dive, which we talked about a few weeks back was a real problem on that heist.
It definitely was.
It was, what is the name of that?
Space Up. I mean,
it's a fasty shooty ninja game. A very, very shiny aesthetic.
Third person, first person,
third person. It's on my ignore list. It's called.
It's on your ignore list. You have an ignore list.
Steam. Don't tell me about this game. I don't know.
I mean, usually my brain's the one that's dead typically, but yeah, why not? We'll go with brain dead Jan this evening. I genuinely don't know from that description.
I had trouble falling asleep. I woke up at 4 a.m. for no reason. I got back to sleep at 5:30, and my neighbors apparently decided to have club night at 9 a.m.
Club night.
So I was like, nah.
Nice.
Like, okay. Religion is a fine song, but I don't want to hear it. What was
Not that early in the morning, no.
It felt very much like the old MDK game from the 90s.
Oh, Murder, Death, Kill.
Yeah.
That was really weird because you wore this giant
Right. That
bike
aesthetic.
helmet. Yeah.
That aesthetic. Everyone's wearing very, very shiny suits with long spiky bits, and
sounds like a good night out to me.
Yep. Today on Mikey's Adventures at the Rubber Ball.
Don't break me, please.
Was that to me or an excerpt from the show? Moving on. Control systems. No, that's the wrong phrase.
So one of the things you said earlier with Super Meat Boy is it felt like the character itself was separate almost. What the character was doing was separate to the thing you were actually controlling. And I think that might be one of the keys to being able to animate something very fluidly. I mean, one of the things in Payday 2 was it felt like you weren't in the world. It felt like you were moving a capsule around the world, which you probably are. And so it was sliding up and down and around things. You didn't feel like you had a physical connection.
I never felt I had any weight.
Yes. Yeah. Weight and presence in the world itself. And maybe that's why speedrunners feel so tight, because the characters, their animation goes with whatever momentum the character actually has.
Which is interesting because in Payday 2, I typically play characters with no or very light armor. So I'm moving very fast, but it does feel a little bit, it's not floaty. It's kind of the opposite. It's exactly
a
the
lack
opposite
of head bob.
Of the problem I've got in, well, head bob just makes me dizzy. It's almost the opposite problem that I've got in Gotham Knights. When I turn in, when I turn in Payday 2, it snaps. It's instant. When I stop, I slide. Very slightly, but I do slide.
Yeah, I had problems lining up with the ladder because I'd reach the ladder and then I'd move just beyond its activation point.
My favorite is climbing down ladders.
It's a death sentence.
It is. You've got to go just far enough and then turn around and go forward and grab it. Because if you don't, you'll just whee.
So ladders are a very interesting thing. I remember playing Half-Life with ladders and getting stuck on the ladder, not being able to get off. Well, you get to the top, but you're like a couple of pixels still within the ladder collider, so you're still stuck to it. I think they solved that later on. I think you could actually jump off the thing, so you ended up just coming out of a hole going wee. It's a me.